Okay, let's take a look at section D, which is the technical skill using the elements and principles of design. So for this first score of 3, the investigation focuses on the theme or mood of select poems as the student interprets the meaning of these poems through representational images. Now, we're not as interested in the writing. We want to take a look at the technical skill of the student. So these images show good technical skill using the elements or using the media of painting and drawing. You can see good balance in the compositions. There's a good choice of color balance in these. Here in the selection of the different types of composition, here this is a square composition, but instead of being square, it's tilted slightly, not quite to diamond position to create interest. The pieces of the composition are cut out and then layered to create a quasi three-dimensional composition. Here is a good example of using the material of gouache to show shading and modeling in paint. Here we have an excellent use of an interior or backlit light source to light the hands with line work around the outside. Here we have very realistic detail and shading in charcoal with these 3 figures that are connected using embroidery string. Excellent example of a symmetrically balanced composition here where the particular parts of the composition on the left side and the right side are almost identical. Another example of good technical skill in drawing here with the 3 faces. Even though the values are muted, you can definitely see the three-dimensionality of the facial features. I love this piece here with the watercolor and color pencil being flat yet cut out, and they stand above the mat board here on the surface. And then there is this kind of like crowned cage that was created in 3D paper on top of it. You can take a look at all of these pieces. They're excellent. Love this skeleton here with the great use of foreshortening where the hips and the lower ribs are closer to you and larger, and the skull and the shoulder are smaller and further away. So you can definitely tell that this student has a good idea of how to use drawing and painting, but they're taking it further. You see how they're cutting them out, laying them on different types of backgrounds to create these interesting three-dimensional pieces, as well as some, normal two-dimensional pieces. So let's take a look at the score rationale. It's a little bit lengthy, but it's really good to take a look at this one. So here they say the visual evidence in this portfolio exhibits good and advanced 2D design skills when illustrating a theme or mood of select poems. Image 1, that stained glass piece, creates emphasis. There's a good use of a principle there with bold lines, shapes, and colors, which are all elements. Although images 2 and 3 use square-shaped formats, each has a distinct design focus. Image 2's square format is an angle. That's that one with the clouds that helps support that cloud movement idea. The foreshortening of the figure and overlapping clouds, which are cut out of paper, create the illusion of depth. That's why the hands coming out of the clouds were so much larger and the face was smaller because it was supposed to be back in the distance. Image number 3 explores the transparency of skin using dramatic lighting. That was the one with the 3 figures, I believe. In addition to the hands in the center, oh no, that was the hands one. Yeah, negative space is created by overlapping a cut paper linear decor that breaks up the solid color of the black background. The cut paper lines surrounding the square also lead back to the hands, creating emphasis. So that's just the first 3 images alone. The use of balance, movement, and negative space, all excellent principles of design, are evident in images 4 and 5. In image 4, the zigzag of a physical line created by the embroidery string connects the 3 figures and creates asymmetrical balance. The consideration of placement for figure 3 is evident as both the top and bottom figures gaze towards the central figure. In image 5, symmetrical balance is created through an intricate floral pattern woven throughout the picture plane, emphasizing a centered large flower. Sitting figures are on either side of the horizontal layout, and on the right is the cutout of an empty figure or a hole in the paper on the left. Images 6 and 7 explore texture, color, pattern, layering, and direction of gaze, which would be like emphasis and movement, through the eye of portraiture. Embroidery string and repetition of a weaving technique connects the 3 figures in image 6. Each of the faces look towards a different side of the composition, leading the viewer's eye into the negative space and the picture plane. That's the space around your subject. Image 7 shows a portrait of a woman in profile, looking to the right of the composition. 3 different layers of drawings create this design. The background color is one layer, the portrait is a second, and the crown, which adds a sense of depth through the cast shadows, is the third. Images 13 and 15 are renderings of interior and exterior spaces that demonstrate advanced 2D skills. Image 13 is a rendering using two-point perspective with a great range of values, details, and contrast. Image 15 shows a cityscape in two-point perspective with the addition of a walk cycle. Finally, the drawn 6 figures walking across the picture plane creates directional movement, leading the viewer's eye from left to right. So that's a lot to unpack there. But the essence of this is that this particular student has very good competency in the materials that she is using, and she has a very firm grasp on good compositional development using the elements and principles of design. And we are going to review all of those at the beginning of the school year. But let's take a look at a score of 1. So this is what we don't want to do. This investigation says, my sustained investigation centers around the inquiry, how does public transport act as a cardiovascular system for Chicago? Growing up in the city, I was acquainted with public transport at a young age. I found myself among people of many cultures and ages, shuttling from one place to another. I wanted to convey this experience to relate it to a universal concept, the human body. So I took photos on and around public transport and put them into a larger model, layering the CTA map with an anatomical human body using methods of collage and drawing. So this is a great idea. Love it. But let's take a look at the design principles used in particular and the technical skill of the student. So if we take a look, the first section are the individual photos that the student took using a digital camera. Some of them are strong and some of them are not. Some of them look like they were edited and some time was taken to alter them, and some of them look like they were just, point and click, and that's all that was done to them. So there's very little right now to link them. Now here for image 12, this is where we start to see the process of putting all of the pieces together, because all of these pieces create one large piece. So here in image 12, we have the photo paper anatomy book collage. So this is actually not drawing done by the student. They just took a book and cut it up and placed it where it would be. The drawing portion are the leg bones here between the thighs and the feet, and the rib cage up here, which actually is out of proportion compared to the anatomical book pages. It should have been much, much larger to actually fit. So here we have the final product and some detailed images zooming in on the final product. So keep in mind, we're looking at the technical skill of not only the photographs, but then this design all in one, incorporating drawing and painting. Okay, so here's the rationale, why this got a 1. So it says the visual evidence in this portfolio demonstrates rudimentary and moderate 2D skills. Image 2 shows adequate skill using leading lines. That's this one here with the leading lines are the tracks here going back into the distance. This is probably the best photo out of the entire group right here. And emphasis on the lit figure against a dark blue sky, right over here on the right. Image 7 is also moderate in its use of leading lines in a similar medium shot. Besides the directional lines in image 7, there is no central focus in the composition. In contrast, images 3 and 5 show little to no consideration of composition at all. Image 8 shows some balance of light and dark values, but does not seem intentional and needs further exploration. Images 12 through 15 have some comparisons between the human cardiovascular with public transportation system, but with very little success. The collage and photographs within the imagery are rudimentary. So you would think that if they're trying to link the images, that maybe the images would have something to do, like maybe these tracks would be part of the circulatory system or something, but it doesn't appear that that was the case. It was just like they kind of randomly threw the photos down and then connected it to the book pages of the body, and then tried to draw in the rib cage and the legs. So you can see that it just was not that successful. It doesn't show a lot of skill either with designing digital photograph compositions, painting skill, or drawing skill.